Well, friends, before we get started, I have some breaking news. Gracie, the giraffe, has officially been found safe and sound. If you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry. Sometimes that's just how small town news works. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, I'm Adrienne Balcom. Each week, we dive into what's happening around Rockwall County, local government, community conversations, the documents behind the headlines, and whatever investigation happens to land on my desk next. Lately, I've noticed one theme keeps showing up over and over again: accountability. Whether we're talking about public records, city planning, water infrastructure, or development, accountability begins with making sure residents have the information they need to understand how decisions are being made. Behind the scenes, I have several public information requests in progress with different municipalities, agencies, and just things around the county. So some records have already started coming in, while others are still pending. Today, we're talking about a municipal asset valuation report, a city survey that raised a few questions, updates from the latest city council meeting, why licensed water operators matter, and a few things happening around Rockwall County that you won't want to miss. So, if you enjoy this kind of local reporting, I would love for you to subscribe because there are several stories still developing. And let's dive in. I want to take just a minute to talk about something most of us probably never think about. Every day we turn on the faucet, fill a glass of water, make a pot of coffee, or water the flowers outside, or maybe you get a bowl filled up so that your pet can have some water to drink. But have you ever stopped to think about everything that has to happen before that water reaches your home? Whether your water comes from a city, a water supply corporation, or a municipal utility district, or another public water system, every one of us depends on trained professionals working behind the scenes to help keep our drinking water safe. Or one of those professionals is a licensed water operator. These aren't simply people who turn pumps on and off. They are responsible for monitoring water quality, overseeing treatment and disinfection, collecting required water samples, maintaining regulatory records, responding to equipment failures, responding to emergencies, and helping ensure public water systems comply with state drinking water standards. Here in Texas, licensed water operators are regulated through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ. So becoming a licensed water operator, it requires education, hands-on experience, passing state examinations, and continuing education to maintain that license. So there is expiration and you have to keep on maintaining it. So they need to keep doing that. So why does that matter? Clean, reliable drinking water doesn't happen by accident. It depends on qualified people doing important work every single day. So that's why I've continued following questions surrounding a licensed operator oversight at RCH Water Supply Corporation. And as many of you know, I've previously reported that the individual who had been publicly identified as the licensed operator is no longer listed on the utility's website. For a long while, I've continued monitoring public available information. I have not seen any announcement identifying who is currently serving in that role. In addition, RCH Water Supply Corporation has canceled multiple board meetings and has not yet announced when its next meeting will be held. I'll continue following those developments and report any new information as it becomes available. Now, you may be wondering why I've spent so much time following this story. Well, one reason is because the city of McLendon-Chisholm is currently considering the sale of city-owned water infrastructure. And that brings this next topic, which is about the municipal asset valuation report that raises some important governance questions. This continues the water saga story. Okay, eventually I'm going to have to do just one show just about that. Earlier this year, I've shared an article about the city's financial audit. One of the observations that I made was the auditor caught my attention whenever he brought up about the city's own water distribution assets that they're not generating revenue for the city. Well, clearly, they don't have that in the agreement for the license agreement with RCH Water Supply Corporation. In fact, after $1,500 of any type of maintenance or repairs or whatever, the city's on the hook to maintain that. We started asking a lot of questions about this, and raised concerns because the entire intent of the public improvement district, the intent was for the city to get into the retail water business. And the city council agenda included it to authorize the staff to publish a notice inviting bids for the possible sale of city owned water distribution assets. It referenced a municipal asset valuation report. So I requested a copy so I could read it for myself. And after reading the report, one thing became very clear. The report estimates the value of the assets, but it is careful to explain that it was limited, that it had limitations. And it states that this was a calculation engagement, not a full conclusion of value. So it also notes that no site or visual inspection took place to perform this review to create the calculations. It just relied on documentation provided during the engagement. So none of that means that the report is flawed. It just simply helps readers understand that what the report was and what it was not. And I think there are three questions residents should be asking. First, what public problem is solved by selling these assets? Second, were residents who paid public improvement district assessments given an opportunity to weigh in before the city decided to market the assets? And finally, what additional public benefit does the city receive by transferring ownership today instead of retaining ownership for future policy options? Those questions don't criticize the valuation report. They're questions about public policy. The invitation for bids opens the process to potential interested parties. At this stage, I don't think it's helpful to assume who may or may not submit a bid. What's important is that whatever process unfolds is conducted transparently and in accordance with applicable laws and city procedures. As I continue researching this issue, another question keeps resurfacing, one involving the operational oversight of the water system itself. Over the past several weeks, I've submitted multiple public information requests and reviewed public available records regarding the licensed operator oversight at RCH Water. Based on those records, I've continued seeking clarification about who is currently serving as the licensed water operator. I've also noted that RCH canceled multiple board meetings and has not yet announced when the next meeting will be held. So, those are separate issues from the city's valuation report, but they are part of the broader picture of how our community's water infrastructure is managed. Earlier this week, I also requested a copy of the city's community survey. The response surprised me, and I just have to tell you about it. I was told literally the survey results have been distributed to the city council and various boards and commissions, and that I would need to submit a public information request to obtain a copy. Now, here's why that caught my attention. Historically, these types of community surveys have been published on the city's website where residents could review the results for themselves. Maybe the process has changed. Maybe there's an explanation. Community surveys aren't just numbers on a page. They're intended to help city leaders understand what residents believe is important, whether that's roads, parks, public safety, development, or other priorities. Just as importantly, they also give residents an opportunity to see how their neighbors responded, and those results may influence future decisions. In fact, I remember being a part of a team who initiated our first city survey, and we published those results. It was a big deal. This community wants that and wanted to be able to see it. In fact, Rockwall County has their survey on the website. Y- the commissioners court, they produced a survey. They have it on their website. So if elected officials and advisory boards are using the survey to help guide policy discussions, I think it's reasonable for residents to want to see the same information. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Should community survey results routinely be made available to the public once they've been presented to the elected officials? Should it be conveniently posted on the website? Should there be a text message to go out to say, "Hey, residents, guess what? The website has the results from the citizen survey. You can download it now," or something to that effect. I mean, what are your thoughts? Let me know. I would love to hear what your take on whether or not should the community survey results be posted on the website. One of the most encouraging moments from the city council meeting actually came during the public hearing, whenever they were discussing about the Tractor Supply development. And honestly, it actually surprised me. Too often, we hear people say that the comprehensive plan just sits on a shelf collecting dust, and I actually enjoy using the comprehensive plan whenever I make decisions, and I hope that the city council will do its best job to utilize that, because that gives you a guide and to help you, whenever you're negotiating and you're considering concessions and you planning your time on council. These are some things that should be incorporated. I mean, there's good guidance in there. During the public hearing, several residents did something I was genuinely happy to hear. They referenced the comprehensive plan. Rather than simply saying they were for or against the project, many of the comments focused on whether this particular development fit the long term vision the community had already established. So let's take a listen to a few moments from that public hearing.
Good evening, council and city staff. My name is Bev Stibbins. I'm going to share with you the same comments I made to planning and zoning last week about the Tractor Supply. I'm thrilled to death they want to come to our city. This is a great thing because they do sell a lot more than tractors. There are things that our citizens can use, which will help our commercial and tax base here in McLendon-Chisholm. Couple things about the building bother me. One being a chain link fence. The representative from Tractor Supply at the P&Z meeting said that they would consider, I believe it was a 16-foot masonry wall instead of just an 8 masonry and 8 chain link. So I would encourage council to put that in any kind of motion you make. And the other thing that really, it's a personal pet peeve. I do not like to pull up to a Home Depot or Lowe's and see all that stuff in the parking lot. So I would ask a Tractor Supply honor us and the look of our city with keeping their merchandise off of the sidewalk, off of the parking lots, and behind their fenced-in area. Thank you.
All right, I'm holding in my hand the city charter. Got it from Ms. Jennings earlier today. I'm sure you all have seen it. It's available online as well. This document is the document that we entrusted to guide our city's growth and development, and we expect that you, our elected officials, will use it as the roadmap that it was intended to be. Now, understand we're not making decisions today, but as we move forward, the citizens have told you they spent months doing so, and key individuals, including stakeholders, community members, and leaders at every level, helped create this document. And first, I want to be clear. I have no issue with Tractor Supply Corporation. According to their 2025 Economic Impact Report, they supported over 100,000 youth through 4-H and scholarship programs. They contributed $15 million to charitable causes and participated in more than 12,000 local sponsorships and community events. They're clearly doing many good things. And we're a rural community. There's still horses, livestock, and agricultural roots here. The question before us is not whether Tractor Supply is a good company. The question is whether this particular project belongs in this particular location and whether it complies with the vision that our community adopted. And let's be honest, who doesn't dream of their morning coffee while listening to the soothing melody of forklifts going beep, 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 and admiring the gentle glow of security lights through their bedroom window? And who could resist the fragrance of dumpster baking in the Texas summer sun? Yankee Candle and Bath and Body Works haven't released those scents yet. Maybe they're working on it. Probably not. Residents nearby could experience those impacts 7 days a week, beginning in the early morning and continuing into the evening. Outdoor lighting may further affect neighboring homeowners' ability to enjoy their property. And I would ask each of you a simple question. Do you want forklifts, semi-trucks, lighting, outdoor storage, and delivery options 100 feet from your yard? If the answer is no, then why would we expect our neighbors to accept it? I'm also concerned about the company's request for outdoor merchandise displays, much like Ms. Stivens, outdoor storage, and outdoor sales. During the meeting, the representatives indicated that these features are fundamental to their business model. However, I question whether that business model aligns with the appearance standards and community character that McLendon-Chisholm has worked hard to establish. In closing, I want to return to this comprehensive plan. It states State Highway 205 and FM 550 will be the main locations for commercial uses, although mixed uses are encouraged as described further in the plan throughout other areas. Commercial development should be modest, quaint, and small.
When I saw the announcement that a Tractor Supply was potentially coming here, I was like, hmm. So there's one in Terrell, and I go to it. I like Tractor Supply. But if you notice, all the Tractor Supplies in the area are out away from town, right? So this is our kind of show place, city center, you know. I remember the charter. I remember a lot of people talking about the vision for this area. I don't think I mean, I like Tractor Supply. I shop there. I don't think it belongs in our city center. It's a semi-industrial type business. And I was envisioning like restaurants, a grocery store, what we have now, the coffee shop, those type of sort of niche small businesses and a grocery store. So my advice, John, I'm just flat out, I would say I wouldn't want it there. I think find a place further out where it can go. That's fine. I don't know why they're putting another one. There's one right in Terrell. That's like, what, 5, 6 miles away? There's already one in the area. I don't understand why we have to have one here. So my advice to you would be, no, thank you. Find another area, outside of that particular four corner area. If you want to put one a little bit further out, I agree with everybody else who's spoken. You're going to have big trucks coming in, delivering stuff. You're going to have forklifts. It's not, I don't think it fits in our downtown area.
Well, listening to those comments, one thing stood out to me. Most speakers weren't arguing against Tractor Supply as a business. Instead, they were asking thoughtful planning questions. How should our future downtown look? How should commercial development transition into nearby neighborhoods? This is the four corners in McLendon-Chisholm, 550 and 205. 205 is going to be expanded to 4 lanes. Eventually, in another decade, we're going to be probably considering it to go into 6 lanes. But for right now, just imagine we are literally taking the baby steps to vitalize, create this destination of a proud city corner area where we associate this to be our downtown area. What type of appearances reflects this community's vision? I mean, it's going to be seen. Like, you're going to be like, yes, I'm in McLendon-Chisholm. We're different than all the other cities in this county, you know? We want to reflect our community's vision. And I think we are literally at that turning point where we're about to like make some decisions that, I mean, that you can't change. Like, once the cement's in the ground, that's it. And for those who may not know, a comprehensive plan is not a zoning ordinance or set of building regulations. Think of it more as a long term roadmap. It communicates the community's vision and provides guidance to elected officials, developers, and staff as growth occurs. But it gives everyone a common starting point. I don't care if you're a transplant or you've been here from generation after generation. There is a reason why people chose to live here. And some people who take the time to research the places that they want to live, and it starts with, what is the vision of the city? Why do I want to live there? This hits every node of what I want as the lifestyle that I want to live. So one thing I appreciated hearing during the public hearing and was that residents discussing walkability, architectural character, landscaping, buffering, and preserving the rural feel that many people moved here to enjoy. So whether the final development looks exactly as proposed or changes during the process, I think those public comments demonstrated something important. Residents are beginning to use the comprehensive plan the way it was intended, as a guide for discussing the future of this community. And that's encouraging to see. Those of us who have lived here a while also understand that parks can be a very sensitive subject. So I listened to the portion, there was a discussion on adopting the parks master plan. And so one thing I appreciated about the presentation was that it wasn't simply about building parks, it was also a conversation about how a growing community plans for the future. And so there's Mr. Sanchez. I don't really know his entire role here, but he is a consultant that was presenting this park plan, and he explained that the park's master plan is intended to serve as a long term vision, while ordinance it created a framework for how the future park improvements could be funded. Many residents chose this community because of its rural character, while newer residential developments often include parks, trails, ponds, and other amenities designed around an active family lifestyle. During the discussion, one comment, I believe it came from Councilmember Donald Goodwin, who stood out. It stood out to me. So he said that residents have told him they want parks and trails, but they don't necessarily want those projects funded through the city's operating budget. When you have parks and it's under the city, somebody has to maintain it and it costs money. So the comment framed much of the financial discussion portion. The consultant explained about the funding approach that will require new development to contribute through parkland dedication or fees. And those contributions could also provide the local match that's often required when applying for state or federal grants. I was glad that point came up because it's important to understand just because you can apply for a grant, there's things that are required. There's a local match. So you can sit there and get approved for a grant. So whether the funding comes from the developer contributions or private donations or partnerships or any other source, those financial questions still have to be answered before those projects move forward from a master plan to construction. You have to know what those requirements or expectations from accepting a grant. So, I mean, it would be great if we can get a whole bunch of private donations, but at the end of the day, the park would have to be maintained. I appreciate the city's effort to begin planning ahead. Communities benefit from having a long term vision. I'm totally in support of that. And at the same time, I hope future discussions include additional opportunities for residents to better understand what the concepts are. I I think that they need to move on to a regional park area, go back to what we started about the heritage district. That should really be the big project that the city should really be focused on. Normally, developers are already in that mode. They're already in that mode where they are like, they want to incorporate parks and trails and ponds and different amenities, depending on the type of development they're going to be proposing. So, planning is the first step. Implementation is, well, that's where the real work begins. Hopefully, we'll see more of a town hall style informative event for people to see the visual concepts. I think that should be interesting. A lot of city officials, they still haven't grasped what a public improvement district is and a municipal utility district is, and they don't understand where the money comes from to fund these type of districts. They're financial tools. They are a part of being the solution to fast growing communities to pay for roads, utilities, parks, and other infrastructure. There are things that are required, and it should be. It should be required. There's a lot of information that seems very complicated. I don't think that we can be able to cover it right now today. This is something that we'll have to consider on just having a topic for the day kind of thing to just unload about what a pit is, what a mud is, you know. So most residents may have never been taught how they work. Many people don't even understand until a development proposal lands in front of their city council and you get experts here, you get a financial administrator that manages the bonds and they're giving input to city council and then they're rolling their eyes and glazing over because it's a lot of information in such a short time span. So I think this is going to become one of our future podcast episodes because understanding how growth is financed helps us better understand many of the decisions our local governments are making today. And Here's a quick update on another story I've been following. Since publishing my article about the McNeil London Rule 202 petition, there have been additional developments on the court docket. A notice of hearing was filed on June 24th. The court has also scheduled a status check for Monday morning around 7 a.m. on June 29th. 2026. And then it's followed by another hearing on July 15th at 1 p.m. So I plan to attend those proceedings as an observer and continue reporting on any significant developments. One challenge with courtroom coverage is that recordings isn't generally permitted inside the courtroom unless, it's a major murder case or something, I think. I don't know. I don't know if that's common. I'm just letting you know that I read the sign on the outside of the door and it says you can't record and all that. So I've actually been thinking about trying my hand at courtroom sketching. We'll see how that goes. So as always, I'll keep you posted on that. I wanted to share a quick update from one of my recent articles. If you're following me on Facebook, please go and find the picture of the curious case of the bear cat, and there's comments in there. Yeah, yeah, I know. Like, you're already you may be considering about following me or whatever, and you're still getting to know me. I get it, and we don't have to be friends on Facebook, but I think that you would find it amusing. If any of you have read and commented on my follow-up article, as always, I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read it and ask questions and share their perspectives. One response, however, stood out. It turns out that one of the board directors from RCH Water Supply Corporation decided to say some comments, and then it led to an invitation to meet and talk. So I accepted the invitation with one condition, that we meet in a public place. And I think that's a reasonable approach. I'll definitely be interested to hear what he has to say, to better understand his perspective, and of course, I'll continue to follow the facts and wherever that leads. If that meeting happens and there's information that can be shared publicly, I'll certainly keep you updated. So before we wrap up, here's a quick look at what's happening around Rockwall County. In Rowlett, after what feels like forever, Miller Road is finally open. Congratulations to the city staff and construction crews for getting that project across the finish line. I'm sure residents and commuters alike are happy to have that road back open. Over in Royce City, shout out to the mayor, Janet Nickel. Chick-fil-A will officially celebrate its grand opening on July 2nd. I have a feeling there will be plenty of chicken sandwiches served that day. R Rockwall ISD is making good use of the summer break. More than 50 capital improvement projects are underway, including new HVAC equipment, roofing, flooring, fire alarm upgrades, expanding the parking at Kane Middle School. I think they're getting 80 parking spots. And there's resurfacing of parking lots at the Aquatic Center and at the Wilkerson Sanders Memorial Stadium. I always enjoy sharing these types of projects because this is one example of your tax dollars at work. Maintaining the facilities we already own is an important part of of responsible stewardship. So kudos to the board, kudos to our executive team with Rockwall ISD. Y'all are doing such a great job. If you or someone you know is looking for employment, Rockwall ISD will host a support staff job fair on July 14th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. with openings ranging from special education instructional assistants to bus drivers, maintenance, and after-school program staff. And if you're looking for 4th of July plans, the City of Rockwall will once again host its annual Independence Day celebration with the downtown parade, live music, food trucks, and fireworks at Harry Myers Park. There's no on-site parking this year, so be sure to take advantage of the shuttle services. Those little trolleys, oh man, they got air conditioning, y'all. It's Texas. It's gonna be hot. And besides, it's kind of cool to get your family in and you take a little trolley ride to the park. It's awesome. Take advantage of it. Finally, congratulations to the City of Fate on welcoming two new department leaders. John Taylor has officially been named fire chief after serving as interim chief, and Ron Winiger joins the city as its new chief of police, bringing nearly 3 decades of law enforcement leadership. Best wishes to both as they begin serving the City of Fate's community. As we head into the 4th of July holiday, I know many of you are packing for vacation, spending time with family, enjoying summer break with your kids, or maybe even planning your next Mahjong gathering. I hope you enjoy every minute of it. We all need time to slow down and recharge. But before I let you go, I'd like to leave you with one final thought. Over the past few years, I've come to believe that healthy government doesn't depend on blind trust. It depends on an informed, engaged public. Whether we're talking about for city council, county commissioners court, school boards, state government, or even the federal government, accountability works best when citizens stay involved. That doesn't mean assuming the worst. It means asking thoughtful questions. When is the project expected to be completed? Who's responsible? How is this being funded? Where can I read the supporting documents? And when is the next budget workshop? Those simple questions help create transparent government. And if you're listening here in Texas, now is one of the most important times of the year to start paying attention. So, cities, counties, and school districts are beginning their budget workshops over the next few months. They'll discuss priorities, capital projects, proposed spending, and ultimately set budgets and tax rates before the end of September. These meetings rarely attract large crowds, but the decisions made there often shape our communities for years to come. So while you're enjoying your summer, take a few minutes to read a meeting agenda, attend a workshop if you can, or simply ask a question. Civic engagement doesn't require running for office. Sometimes it begins by simply paying attention. Thank you so much for spending the part of your day. I don't know how long it takes for you to listen to this entire podcast, but if you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who enjoys staying informed about what's happening here in Rockwall County. I've also got some exciting interviews coming up with local leaders and some community members, so you won't want to miss those conversations. So until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and always thank you so much for listening.